Welcome, guys. Welcome back to the Political Matrix News. Hello, Mike and Scott. How are y'all doing tonight?
Doing okay?
Road weary, but none the worse for wear.
Oh, that's a go out. It is another wonderful day in this wonderful 250th anniversary here of America. And the Olympics are over, and I guess that was all fun. And anybody talk about it?
The baseball game's over.
Exactly. The baseball game's over. The
Now, I will say,
Final Four starting up.
yeah, but before we get too far away from this baseball game, though, and I am not making any kind of a comment on the Venezuelan team. But boy, doesn't it make you wonder just how legit this game is when America struggles to get into it, we somehow get into it, and then Venezuela, who's like the underdog that everyone's sympathetic for because of everything that's gone on over the last few years, and now they're on an upward trend, and they go in and beat the Americans. This sounds a little soap operatic to me, almost like the baseball version of wrestling.
Yeah. I do
So I
think
don't
it's legitimate, though, but I absolutely understand what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's legitimate. I watched the game, and it'd be hard. I mean, it's not impossible to fake something like that, but I guess that's the Chicago 8. But they definitely it was an emotional ride for sure.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, well, good. And I have two friends / workers that are from there, and I watched the game with them, and they were just ecstatic as they could be, and God bless them. But like, man, really? I couldn't have written this script.
Yeah, well, it's
But
sports.
congratulations to them. I'm not truly not trying to take anything away
Right.
from them. It's just funny how that lined up.
Yeah, I mean, what's the day today? Today's March, 19th?
18th.
18th. And so the Final Four is, I guess, getting into gear here. And I'm a University of Florida fan, and hopefully the Florida Gators will do something here to do something a little bit better. I mean, and match what they did last year.
Well, they got to step it up. They've been kind of error prone for the last few weeks anyway.
Yeah, I'm a little disappointed in that, but hopefully they'll turn it around.
Yeah, and I'm not even a basketball fan, but I got to watch this stuff sometimes. Especially when it gets to the championship games.
Mike, he's wearing a Florida State shirt. So how are they doing this year in basketball?
Can you see the Florida State logo on the screen?
I saw it whenever you sat down.
Okay, well, I can raise up and you can see it there, but I didn't think it showed up on the screen.
No, it does. I just kind of threw it in there because I knew you were wearing it whenever.
Okay.
Before the camera came on.
Yeah, that's all right. No,
how are they doing,
Florida State's having a rough time with their sports, although we are national champions in women's soccer.
Hey,
there is that.
Something, I guess.
That's right.
Go Knowles.
That's right.
And the Florida women's hockey team.
Anyway,
I don't know if there is one.
I don't know if there is one, but that's about as good as Jerome Powell here saying today that he's wanting to cut interest rates. Once again,
he doesn't want to leave office with nothing, just complete pettiness on his record.
Right. I mean, I think we're talking before the show. I mean, Mike was mentioning the price of oil and how it's fluctuating with the different barrels, different types of oil and everything. And I'm just waiting for it to start dropping at the gas pump here a little bit. I mean, it was, I guess, 119, 120, 125 a gallon or barrel, I guess, last week. And now it's, what do you say, 98 a barrel or 108 a barrel?
West Texas Intermediate is 98, but Brent is 109. And as of this exact moment, when we're doing this podcast, the world standard would be the Brent crude. So 109. West Texas Intermediate is more what we use in the U.S. And there are different grades of oil. I mean, oil is not oil. There are different grades of it, depending on the sulfur content and other things that make it easier, difficult to refine, and also where it's geographically located. So, a lot of the U.S., we get it West Texas Intermediate because, well, it's right here in the U.S. Asia and much of Europe gets it from the Middle East. Brent crude is actually derived from North Sea oil. I mean, if you look at historically what that is, it's North Sea oil. It doesn't necessarily mean North Sea oil anymore, but that is the global standard, is Brent crude. And as of this moment, it's $109 a barrel, with predictions that it may go to $200, depending on how long the Strait of Hormuz stays closed.
Yeah, we were talking about that in the last show, about the Strait of Hormuz and about how America is going to try to keep it secured and open. And so what's going on with that right now? I guess Iran closed it because they're in charge. And why are they in charge to close it?
They closed it to all U.S. and their allies, which is basically everyone. Because they get to determine who the allies are. So if you've ever had an opportunity to say something bad about the United States and you didn't do it, you are an ally.
Exactly. And that's who they're attacking right now. They're bombing the allies.
I don't want to be pedantic and argumentative with Scott, even though he thinks I argue with him about everything he says. But technically, Iran claims they haven't closed the Strait of Hormuz. They're saying, we didn't close it. Now, what they are doing, though, is they're shooting at ships, like Scott said, that are allied with the U.S. Iranian ships have gone through it, but no other ships have been allowed passage. But they claim they're not actually closing it, even though it is de facto closed, because ships that try to traverse it are getting attacked by drones, or I'm not sure any mines have actually hit anything yet, but they're certainly being attacked by anti-ship missiles and by drones. And so the shippers can't get insurance to transit the strait. And without insurance, they're not willing to do it. And I don't blame them. I mean, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars worth of ships, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of crude oil. You can't put that at risk. You got to have insurance on it. And I know Donald Trump announced 2 weeks ago that the U.S. was going to provide that insurance for about a 100-mile stretch. Once it makes the open sea, if you go back to typically the London shipping insurance companies, that has yet to materialize, though, and I'm not quite sure why.
Well, I'll tell you the interesting thing about that, and this may be a point of negotiation, because Lloyd's of London is the one that has traditionally provided that type of insurance for a century or more.
Right, more than a century, centuries.
Yeah, for sure. And now with Trump offering this out of the United States and using the United States, full faith and credit of the United States to insure these things, it takes a big club out of the British, in fact, arsenal for negotiating with people for international trade. It takes that power from the British and gives it to us. And so it may simply be that Trump is using that as a lever against the British to say, look, either do something for me or we're taking that power away from you.
I guess my question...
I see it, though, as Lloyd's of London is making a business, not a political decision. And I don't disagree with it as a business decision. I mean, if I was advising Lloyd's and like, hey, Mike, should we insure ships transiting the Strait of Hormuz right now? I'd say, hell no. What are you, crazy? So the business decision is the right one. I don't think it's a political decision at all on the part of the British. Now, obviously, Donald Trump has political considerations to include, and it may or may not be in the calculus to try to dethrone London, Lloyd's of London specifically, although they're not the only insurer, but dethrone them as the primary insurance market for global shipping. But does the U.S. government really want to get in the business of insuring private cargo? The U.S. Navy, that's what we do. I mean, part of the Navy's legitimate role is defending international trade. I know the lefties don't like that. I know the peaceniks don't like that. But the reality is that the United States military, does it protect our shores? Does it protect our freedom? Well, sure it does. But it also protects our trade. Armies have done that through centuries. I mean, even when you look at the Silk Road, you want to go back to then. But what you have? You had legions of armies protecting who? The merchants on the Silk Road, the trade routes. And so to say, oh, U.S. Navy, they're going to be protecting oil. Yeah, well,
exactly.
Oil is the blood that has to circulate around the globe or the planet dies. So I understand what people are complaining about.
Yeah,
the legitimate role of the military.
Exactly. When somebody tells me this war's about oil, I'm like, yeah, damn well it is about oil, and that's not a bad thing.
Well, I don't think oil is the primary reason. It's a factor, but it is not at the top.
No,
nuclear weapons are at the top.
Yeah, and this is long overdue. We've been letting countries like them get away with murder for decades. In this effort to protect us against World War III, a World War III that was never going to come. Russia was never going to start that. China definitely was never going to start it. So we've been kind of sitting on our hands for a long time, letting this fester for decades,
exactly.
and it's time for it to stop. So I get that. I get there's some economic pain going on right now, and it's not fun.
Yeah.
I'm not trivializing it at all, but it's the price we've paid for being so reluctant to put our foot down for things that we knew were going to be a problem for a long time.
Exactly.
But actually, Scott, the price that we are paying now, even if the price of oil and gasoline doubles from what it is right now, the price we are paying now is low compared to the price we will pay if the mad mullahs who rule Iran get a nuclear weapon.
Exactly.
So that's why I still support this war. If Donald Trump ends these hostilities with the Islamic theocrats still in charge of Iran, then it will have been a huge mistake and we never should have gone in the first place. If we, however, can replace the theocracy with a secular pro-Western government, then it will absolutely be worth doing, and it'll be the greatest foreign policy success of the millennium. But because we don't know the outcome yet, it's too soon to really say whether the war is worthwhile. At the moment, I support it. But if Donald Trump chickens out for any reason and settles for anything short of regime change, then it will have all been a colossal waste of blood and treasure.
Well, I'm only going to qualify this. I agree with you. I'm only going to qualify it to this extent. What Trump did over in Venezuela was he left enough of the admittedly secular government there in place, even the ones he knew were going to be criminals, had a history of being criminals, and told them basically, you're in charge for now. You're going to have elections, and you're going to follow the elections, and that however that works, that's going to work out. He will probably try to do something like this with the secular elements of the Iranian government, because keeping those people in place is his way of creating an easy transition. Unless you want what the mullahs got, you guys need to toe the line this way. And then when your people want an election, you need to have the election. You need to follow the results. And I think that's the extent to which we're going to go. And I hope it is, because it's the thing that Trump does that's different than everyone. He lets there be, and he helps build value in these countries that are decimated by virtue of deals with the United States and deals with other people that Trump negotiates. And I guarantee he has in his hand right now a stack of billions of dollars worth of deals to start issuing out once things have stabilized in.
Except that there isn't a secular government in Iran. There's not even elements of a secular government in Iran. Iran is an Islamic theocracy. It is run by the mullahs, by the supreme leader, and by the IRGC. The IRGC is not just the military group that defends the regime, although that is its stated purpose. They are integrated into every aspect of Iranian society, from banking to agriculture to education to healthcare. The IRGC runs Iran. And until we can replace those leaders, and hey, we're picking them off one by one, and I applaud that. But until they are replaced with the secular leaders, the game plan that you just laid out, Scott, won't work, because the theocrats, they will never subject themselves to the will of Donald Trump. They will only subject themselves to the will of Allah. And Donald Trump, despite what he may think, is not God.
Well, if the government was actually set up like that, you would be right, but that's not how it's set up. The IRGC does have veto power over literally everything, and they do have representatives at every level of government, but they have regular garden variety bureaucrats actually doing the day-to-day work there. And those are the people I'm talking about. And they have little councils that get to make the small decisions that the IRGC doesn't overrule them on. But the IRGC doesn't actually do the work. They're too big. It's literally, and this is going to sound funny, I'm not joking, it is literally too much work oppressing the people for them to be bothered with making sure that the waters keeps flowing.
Yes, but the IRGC does run the country. The supreme leader is the supreme leader, but the IRGC runs it. And you don't get to be in the IRGC, Scott, unless you're a true believer. Now, you can be in the Iranian army and be secular. That's different. You got the Iranian army, which is a completely different thing than the IRGC. And what we really need to somehow convince them to do, and I would have assumed we'd have arranged it already, but apparently we haven't, is to get elements of the Iranian army to mount the coup against the IRGC and have them fight it out. But you don't get to be in a position of leadership in the IRGC unless you are a true believer.
Well, then you go too.
You are right. But what I'm saying is see, you're just talking past what I'm saying. There are actual people that do day-to-day works, even the army, even the actual army, that are not members of the IRGC, because you can't find enough people with the qualifications to be in the IRGC who are also qualified to run things. So instead, what you do is you make sure you put them on boards or next to boards, or you do things to give them the authority to overrule things or to give guidance for things. And if there's a comma out of place, they can just say, no, redo the commas, redo the whole thing. But they don't make the day-to-day decisions because it's just trivial to them. Those are not the things. They're too busy regulating the morality and the loyal, why Ahmad's garbage isn't being picked up.
Yes, but the bureaucrats that you're referring to, who aren't the radicals, they're not the ones that are going to take over. The guy who's changing out the transformer on the electrical pole, or
We have no
checking the
idea who's going
water
to take
meter,
over.
or picking up the trash, or sending out the natural gas bill, or whatever they're doing, those people aren't going to run the government. You've got to get people in leadership to take over,
Well,
and
yeah.
nobody in the leadership of the IRGC is going to do it, which means we've got to have others that do it, and they either need to be.
Those boards have people, Mike. Those people have leadership people. The IRGC does not do that. The IRGC doesn't sit on the board to determine the budget for how much water we're going to run, which road we're going to pave. They don't do any of that. What they do is make sure that the people that are making those mundane decisions are following the celestial directives.
Right, and the people making those mundane decisions are not going to take over the government.
Yeah,
we're talking about two completely different elements here. You're focusing on the rank and file bureaucrats, and I'm not disputing what you're saying about them. But you seem to be missing the point that I'm trying to make, that these rank and file bureaucrats aren't going to be the ones that take over the country.
Well,
the leaders of the IRGC are, and they are the hardcore believers, and they're not going to give up.
Okay,
the IRGC are the ones that have to go. When they're gone.
So what are we disagreeing about?
You don't disagree at all.
Because you are being pedantic again, because you won't listen to what I'm saying. No one is disputing that the IRGC is bad. No one's disputing that the mullahs are bad. They're the ones that are getting whittled down. The ones that do the rank and file work are the ones that are going to be taken over when you get rid of the IRGC and the mullahs. Those are going to be that is going to be the government. And in fact, when all of this started, there was an attempted negotiation with Trump's people that the army and those people would be granted amnesty for the things that happened to the protesters. Those are the people that have done bad things, but are going to be allowed to stay in place because they're not part of the IRG.
Okay, so if what you're saying, and look, I'm not putting words in your mouth, I'm clarifying. If what you're saying is that once the top 20 levels of IRGC leadership are dead, can somebody take over? I will go along with that. And I'm all in favor of killing the top 20 levels, Scott. But the IRGC does rule the entire country with an iron fist. Their tentacles are in every aspect of the culture and the economy. And I just don't see
You're equivocating. You're equivocating.
Okay.
I'm not equivocating at all. I am being very consistent about who runs Iran. And it is not the secular bureaucrats.
You're equivocating because because what is the definition of running things is where the equivocation is.
Okay, well,
when you set policy and you enforce that at the end of a gun, which is what they do, then you run the place.
Right.
Do you think the IRGC determines water quality levels?
No, but the guy that's doing the testing of the water is not going to suddenly be the president of Iran.
No, but his bosses, that's what I'm saying. The bosses of those people. You see, to use an American equivalent, there is a board like the ECUA board here in Iran that does that sort of thing. They're probably appointed, but they're not. They are still running things on that thing. They have delegated authority. There are delegated authorities for all sorts of mundane things, and the only part of the delegation is that they can be overridden because they're delivering water to Muhammad, who isn't towing the line like they want him to, and so they may do individual things like that. But at the end of the day, the people that physically make the decisions to run the infrastructure for the country are not the IRGC. The IRGC are just people that look at those people and say, hey, I don't think you gave enough praise to Allah, so step it up. That's all they do.
I want to step in here real quick.
So kill the top 20 layers. We'll get down to the people you're talking about.
Well, yeah, go ahead.
It's not built the way you think it is, Mike. It's just not.
It absolutely is. You clearly, Scott, have not studied enough about the IRGC and how deeply they are involved in Iran. They control the country. The IRGC is the power in Iran.
You don't have to be on top of the board. You don't have to be on the board to control the country. You can just be the guy that walks up to the board member and says, hey, do what the mullah said. The mullah didn't say you do that. Don't do that. So you can still be nominatively in charge of the board, but still not, but not an IRGC member.
Okay,
so
I'm going to step in real quick.
Bureaucrats aren't going to take over. Are we disagreeing about?
I think we're
because you keep talking like there's these 30 layers of people on top of the regular bureaucracy, and that's not how it is.
Well, there absolutely are. They absolutely are.
Okay. I'm going to step in real quick. Well, first of all, I think the whole concept here of this war is to destroy all of them first of all, and to go ahead and take out the entire government, which is all 30 or 20 or 50 or 100 or however freaking 3 layers there are, whatever, to get rid of the IRGC and to make sure they're not relevant anymore, to eliminate them, and then to have free elections from the people. And here's a little wonderful thing about free elections. They might vote for a theocrat or a non-theocrat or a secular person, but if it's a free election, it's a free election. We have no freaking idea how it's going to end up being, but that's the reason why we're at war, to go ahead and get all this here stuff here fixed, and to go ahead and get rid of the Islamic State and the theocratic government and everything. And we are, I really don't care, and I don't think really people in the battle or in the military give a damn how many levels it is. The whole concept here is to get rid of all of them. And yes, I mean, Scott is right. I mean, Eli's bureaucrats and Mike's right. I mean, you have to get rid of the layers, and we're going to do both. I mean, that's the whole reason for a war. That's the whole reason that defines success. That's the whole reason that it defines it working. Now, the whole concept here is that if you go to war, you're killing people and blowing things up, and you leave that power to be, then we never should have been at war in the first place. The whole idea here is to replace those mothers and get them the hell out of there, and to basically have a secular government set up, which would be replacing the IRGC, which would be replacing anybody in Iran who is in control now, who would be replacing and eliminating and annihilating all of them together, like, basically how we ended the caliphate with ISIS. I mean, we're gonna have at the end of the day, it's gonna be hard, but some people are gonna die. There's gonna be a lot of deaths, and that's pretty good. That's fine, because they're the ones who are killing everybody and paying for the terrorism. And I don't really a little bit of pain about that. Yeah, who gives a the whole point here is to annihilate them. And in all 30 levels, as you put it, Mike, will have to go. And if there's more levels, then they got to go. If there's fewer levels, they got to go too.
So my screen is locked up, so I'm going to jump in. I don't know if I'm being recorded as part of this podcast or not.
Secular government, we have to be able to do that.
This. Okay, actually, apparently that was my end that just disconnected. You guys froze up, and I now have you back.
Okay.
I think. Am I back?
Yeah, you never froze on us.
Okay, well, I was frozen on my end. You guys froze up. So anyway, I'm going to jump in because it sounds like you had finished. So I'm going to say this. That is your stated goal, Greg.
Yeah,
that is my stated goal. No, hold on. And that is my stated goal. And I believe that's also Scott's goal. But my question for you is, what is Donald Trump's goal?
Who knows?
Well, exactly. He has not articulated what defines success. So while the three of us are all day long saying we have to replace...
Well, he did say regime change. He said regime change.
He has not committed to regime change at all.
Nobody commits to anything.
He moves those goalposts back and forth at a whim, sometimes in the same press conference. Sometimes in the same paragraph, he'll change the goal.
Well, regardless of what I say or you say or anybody says, the only way to success... Well, okay, let me go ahead and say it this way. It doesn't matter what Trump says or what any of us say. The only way of success is to annihilate and to eliminate the theocrat.
Well, have you heard Donald Trump say that?
That's it. I don't care. Okay, and so I don't care what he says.
Why would
you don't care?
Why would Donald Trump say that?
Because what he says is irrelevant.
Donald Trump has an obligation to no one else, the American people, to explain why we're there. And understand, I support this so far. I'm not anti-Trump. I'm not anti-war. I recognize the need to do this. But if he's going to half-ass it, he shouldn't have done it. And he
also doesn't have to show his cards out.
Sentence, please.
He doesn't have to show his cards.
To articulate his goal to the American people, and that is disgraceful.
Well, it is and it isn't, because a lot of times whenever you start articulating things, that this wonderful media of ours likes to take parts of sentences and parts of other sentences and screw them all together. And I mean, there's also a thing to be said for not showing your cards, and because
like when the BBC manufactured him saying they're telling people to go to the Capitol and take over.
I mean,
like that.
It wasn't just the BBC, but even without the filter of the fake news, Donald Trump contradicts himself constantly, and I have yet to hear him explain why we are at this war, and he owes that explanation to the American people.
Well,
I don't care if we're at war because they offended him. We need to be at war with them.
Yeah, this is overdue.
That would be the worst possible reason, is because somebody offended Donald Trump. We've still got to have a legitimate national security interest. And I believe we have national security interests. So he should articulate what those are. But he hasn't done it yet.
Well, his inability...
Let me just, if I may, if the threat, and look, according to the Steve Witkoff, He said, Steve Witkoff, just a few days ago, said that in the negotiations, the other side of the table, the Iranians told him they have enough uranium to build 11 nuclear bombs. Well, hey, Donald Trump, how about you tell that to the American people and say they could have done that in weeks? And that's why we went in. Now, there's a whole bunch of talking heads who are saying that's why we went in, but I've yet to hear that from the man in charge of these operations.
I think we had that during...
talk about regime change, huh?
Well, I think we had the issue with Colin Powell.
Threat, but he hasn't defined what an imminent threat is.
Okay, do you remember Colin Powell and what he was told and all the intel with 9/11 and how that all bit George W. in the butt and everything? Because,
of course,
I mean, here's one interesting thing about the Iranians telling Witkoff about enough uranium. They might be lying. They might be wrong. And whenever they go there to go look for it, to justify it, it might not be there. Then they're going to say, oh, well, this is another made up thing that Trump did. They're going to forget the whole conversation part that they were told that. They're going to say that basically Witkoff is lying about being told that. And basically, he was misleading people about being told that. Or maybe they were wrong about being told that. Because the reality here is until they have the intel and until the intelligence departments are honest and clear with everything, which I think we've had an issue with the intel and the deep state being totally abstract and against almost everything Trump was doing in the first term, and actually trying to help get him impeached in the first term and help get him arrested whenever he wasn't president. And they've been a little bit slow to the start here, but they're doing pretty good so far in this partial second term. But that being said, the intel and the deep state don't have the credibility by anybody in the media, because if Witkoff is saying all that, and they're going to hinge everything on that the same way they did with 9/11 in the first war in Iraq, which everybody says now that we never should have done. We should have left Saddam Hussein alone, and he was a wonderful man, and blah, blah, blah. I mean, the whole point here is it doesn't matter what he says, okay? They're going to go after him and split the words and do everything they can to attack him and make this war not justifiable, when it really is.
All right, so let me address that. I know, Scott, you're chomping at the bit to jump into, and I promise I won't filibuster this, but I want to address something that Greg just said. You talked about the 2003 invasion of Iraq being on faulty intelligence because we believe they had weapons of mass destruction.
No, incorrect. Okay. I did not say that. I said that's what the media said. Actually, the intelligence, I think, was correct, actually.
Okay, modification taken. I won't argue that. But here's the thing. Saddam Hussein said he had weapons of mass destruction.
He did.
If he was lying, that's on him. If somebody comes up to you with their finger inside their sweatshirt and they say, I've got a gun, hand over your wallet, and you take out a gun and shoot them dead, you can't then say, or they can't rather say to you, oh, that was just his finger under his sweatshirt.
But
if he told you it was a gun and you believed it was a gun, you were in fear for your life, you were justified taking the shot. Same thing in international law as well. If Saddam Hussein said he had weapons of mass destruction, if he was lying, well, that's on him. It cost him his life. He's an idiot. Okay. And if the Iranians are lying, well, that's on them. But if they say they've got it, we have to take them at their word, and we have to defend based on what we know to be true, based on their words.
And that's what we're doing now. Whenever Saddam said he had it, he killed him. We took him out. Iranians said they have it. We're killing them and taking them out. We're doing the same damn thing in both places. Whenever people say they want to kill millions of people with all these nuclear and uranium and blah, 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 national weapons of mass destruction, we annihilate them. We assassinate them. We eliminate them. We take them out. And so we're doing the same thing with Iran. And so basically the justification, and so I think that's where the whole faulty correlation here is that people are wanting Trump to go ahead and say that. They're baiting him to say that this is the reason why. So then they can just spin it around, say, because we got all these Republicans now who are now saying we never should have gone to Iraq, which are foolish as hell. We should have, and that war was justified in my opinion, because I know a lot of intel that not a lot of people know. But that being said, they're trying to bait Trump here into another impeachable offense of doing a false war without any kind of proper things, so that way whenever the Democrats take over in 10 or 11 months, in their theory, that they can have another reason to impeach him. And so they're trying to get him to go ahead and put his cards out there and his verbal cards out there on the table. And he did, you're right. It would be wonderful for a president to tell the American people the truth. It'd be wonderful to tell them that they can keep their health care whenever they're about to lose their health care. It's wonderful to tell people all the stuff that Biden said and everything else that was all completely lies. It'd be wonderful. But the reality here is that some things just need to be done. Period. Right now, this needs to be done. All 30 levels of the Iranian IRGC and their leadership all need to go. period. A secular state needs to be set up. The entire religious state needs to be removed and gone. Period. Out of all levels of government. All.
Agreed. Now, please get the President of the United States to say that.
I don't need to. I think the military's doing it with their missiles and their bombs.
What would the media have said before Trump went in if someone had told them the talking point that the Iranians currently have enough fissile material to make 11 nuclear bombs? What would they have said?
They would have run stories
Bullshit.
about George W. Bush and the 2003 invasion of Iraq and it being faulty intelligence and lies, and Donald Trump wanting to go to war based on faulty intelligence and lies. That's the story they would take. But we are already in war. The reason we didn't announce anything in advance is because the media and the Democrats, not that there's any difference, I apologize for repeating myself there, but the media and the Democrats would have warned the Iranians we were coming, and that decapitation strike against the supreme leader would not have been successful. In fact, not just him, there were 40 of them in the room.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have been there. So the secrecy was necessary. But now it's the cat's out of the bag. Everybody knows we're fighting. So let's explain why. And the president hasn't done so.
Well, I don't need it.
His goal is regime change. He's just not saying that, because if he says it's regime change, then all they're going to do is trot out the long string of regime change wars we've had for
Hitler.
Decades that have just been criminal failures.
Yeah, they'll call him a Hitler, call him Stalin, they'll call him names, they'll call him this, they'll call him that, they'll call him this. I mean, they'll do every single frigging thing. Yeah, exactly. I mean, for what he wants to do, which is actually a good thing, it would be against the world court. They'll be a little pissy about it because they seem to like, leaders are supposed to respect leaders. I mean, how many genocidal people they are. You can't kill a genocidal leader.
So name for me, please.
They're wonderful.
Please name for me one leader of any of the 194 countries on the planet. Name for me one leader,
I'm not
counting the supreme leader of Iran. So I guess with that one exception, name for me one head of state who is on the record saying they're perfectly okay with Iran having nuclear weapons. Just one. Name one.
I haven't asked any. None.
Exactly.
But Mike, I disagree with you about one other thing, and that's that the criticism wouldn't be equating it to Iraq. It would be they don't have material for a bomb. They have a bomb, and they're going to blow it up because we've written this. That would have been the narrative going in. That would have been the narrative for not doing it. It wouldn't have been because they don't have it. It would be because they do have it.
Yeah, the problem is once they do have it, they're untouchable. It's the reason we can't attack North Korea, because North Korea has a bomb, has a nuclear bomb, and a bunch of them. They're untouchable.
That is absolutely not the reason we can't touch North Korea. The reason we can't touch North Korea is because China would throw a fit, and we don't want to throw China, who actually has real, very good nuclear bombs, to throw a fit.
There are multiple reasons that we can't attack North Korea. The nukes are number one. The number two reason is because there's a whole bunch of mortars and artillery aimed at Seoul, and so there would be a conventional destruction of Seoul. But yes, China obviously doesn't want to do that too. So there's multiple reasons. But once you become a nuclear state, you largely become untouchable. The problem is the Iranians. See, so far everybody else who's a nuclear state is run by, somewhat sane leaders who don't want to die and don't want their people to die. The problem with the mullahs that run Iran is that they are all of this 12th Imam sect of Shia Islam. They have this apocalyptic prophecy that if they can bring about enough death and destruction, this 12th Imam, who went into hiding 900 years ago but is still alive in a hole somewhere, will be released and will come and rule the world, convert everybody who doesn't die already to Islam, and then this global caliphate will run for all of eternity with the Muslims in charge, because everybody on the planet will be Muslim. So they have this apocalyptic prophecy that will only come true if they can bring about death and destruction. The supreme leader is on the record, well, he's dead now, but the previous supreme leader said that the price of 60 million Muslim deaths would be worth it against 6 million Jews being killed. Because he was asked, hey, you're fine, you attack Tel Aviv, they're going to just flatten Iran. And he shrugged, he said, 60 million Muslims, small price to pay if it means the deaths of 6 million Jews. These people aren't sane. They're not rational.
Well, I agree with that. They're not saying
and if everybody agrees that Iran can't have nuclear weapons, then how come only the United States and Israel are willing to lift a finger to make sure that Iran doesn't get nuclear weapons?
We got a lot of pathetic countries out there, okay?
Exactly.
Well, because
we got the whole world sucking on our tit once again and refusing to lift a finger to defend their own interests.
And that's the reason why I don't give a damn.
And they've spent the last 10 years, with this liberal, this wokeism thing where they can't agree with Donald Trump for anything. This is TDS on a world stage because they can't agree with Donald.
That's the reason why that's the reason why I don't really care about. Right. I don't need Donald Trump to explain why this is happening. I don't require that for me at all.
I know why it's happening.
If Kamala Harris had won the 2024 election, she would probably not be doing this, but let's just say she did. Okay, let's say that her intel said, "Oh, Kamala, you got to do this or they're going to have a nuke in a month." And she goes in, okay? The very people complaining about Donald Trump doing it would be applauding Kamala Harris for doing it. And you'd have a lot of people on the right, not all of them, but you'd have a lot of people on the right supporting that action because they know rationally and objectively that Iran must be denied nuclear weapons regardless of the cost.
Okay,
but you remember the last...
That's a false narrative.
Well, the last 4 years, the left's been in love with Palestine.
Exactly. I mean, that's not even a reality. If Kamala Harris were to be president, she'd probably actually give them another $10 billion to finish up the bomb and think it's a very peaceful area. Yeah, I mean, that's not even...
I did say it was unrealistic.
Did you all
see the Bill Maher clip? I forget whether we mentioned this last week, but did you all see the Bill Maher clip when he had Congressman Adam Schiff on? Did you all see that?
We talked about it last week, yeah.
Did we talk about it? Okay. Yeah, but for those that weren't listening last week, let me just quickly mention. Bill Maher says, so Adam Schiff, he had him on a show. What do you think of this comment about the president having war powers? And he read this statement. And Schiff says, oh, yeah, I can't do that. President doesn't have the authority. And then Bill Maher says, yeah, well, Adam, those were your words when Barack Obama attacked Libya.
Yeah.
So it's
Libya's different. Libya's different.
Right.
Of course,
right.
Gaddafi was a wonderful man.
Yeah.
He's a wonderful, peaceful guy. He wasn't like a terrorist, bad person. Well, yeah, wait, he was a Libya guy, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Gaddafi was a Libya guy.
Right. And all of this, my team good, your team bad,
is
ridiculous. The baseline, the default for everybody. I'm not interested in my team good, your team bad. I'm interested in what's going to benefit the United States. And if the Democrats have a good idea, it's rare that they do, let's admit. But if they have a good idea, I'll support it. If Republicans have bad ideas, which they have all the time, I denounce it, okay? I want what's good for the country, and I frankly don't care who gets credit for it. The problem is that the media, and social media is included in that, is so bitterly partisan that the American people aren't even receiving the same facts anymore. If you have a conversation with your average semi-informed lefty, they won't even have a clue what the other side is arguing because they don't hear it. Because all they get is reinforcement after reinforcement after reinforcement of what they already believe. They're just getting more and more of the same. So everything is propaganda. And let me be clear, Fox News is propaganda also. Both sides are nothing but propaganda. Now, there's elements of truth in propaganda. I'm not saying they're making it up out of whole cloth, but the problem is the American people aren't even being given the same facts upon which to make informed decisions.
Well, we have one party that's totally negated any type of reality of an issue whatsoever to just basically go into full force fundraising mode, clickbait, political clickbait, as Sky and I call it, and that's basically what the left is doing at a very good rate. I mean, they're raising money very well, but the average voter has no idea what they're saying on the left side or the Democrat side because they have zero policies. They're not monolithic or lockstep in policies, or lockstep and basically it's all against Trump. And basically it doesn't really matter. If Trump became a liberal and Democrat tomorrow, I think Democrats would become Republican-like. I think that if Donald Trump became a big government liberal and he became a very strong on, transsexuals letting their kids mutilate bodies and the government funding everything and pro-choice, I think Democrats would literally become pro-life and become, anti that. I think it's opposite day in this political landscape, period.
Well, the reason they oppose him is not ideological, regardless of what they say. The reason they oppose him is because he went in there and started firing all of the bureaucrats that used to be friendly to their decisions and reversing rules that they used to make billions of dollars on.
He cut off the money train.
Well, that's true when he came in second term, but he wasn't doing that in his first term. They hated him just as much then.
He was on his way to do it. He was trying to do it in his first term. He was already repealing rules right and left.
He got hijacked by two
regulations were being repealed, but he wasn't doing the firings in the first term.
Yeah, well...
No, because he was trying to run it like a business. right?
Yeah, he got impeached twice, and yeah, got hijacked with COVID.
He thought that as a businessman, that it was important to keep these people in place because they know where the bodies are buried. They know all the history of the stuff, and it's important to have a smooth transition. He didn't understand just how predatory they were.
Yeah, exactly. In the first term, we had Dr. Fauci become the president pro tem, basically. And he basically organized all 50 states here to close down and shut down. And basically, what happens when a state shuts down, guys? Where are they going to get their money? You got to get it from, I don't know, the only person left that has a purse open, which is the federal government. And so the inflation and the stimulus checks and all the gimmes and gimmes and gimmes and gimmes, because all the wonderful Republican and Democrat governors decided to buy into the hoopla of the scare tactics of the Chinese medical war against America, which you still have not retorted back to China for, or thanking them in a proper manner of killing several Americans. And thank you guys for all that up. But hey, I mean, the entire world here, the reality here is that, I mean, Trump's first term was hijacked. The second election most likely was stolen. And this third election here, where, it's a miracle he hasn't been impeached yet. But thank God we have a Republican Congress. That's not going to last for too long if they don't get their act together with their media messaging and everything. Or if somebody, these states don't get all their ballot harvesting things here fixed and get the SAVE Act passed. And actually, the next part of getting the SAVE Act passed is actually enforcing the damn thing in all 50 states, making sure the sanctuary states don't ignore it, which is going to be a miracle because it's a wonderful thing to have a SAVE Act. But if you got a sanctuary state that allows all these illegals and criminals to vote, then what the hell's the act going to be good there for anyway? Because the courts ain't going to do a damn thing about it. And so, I mean, it's a mess. So where we're at right now, Trump going into a war like this and everything happening this way, I think, it's going the right direction.
Oh, let's hope so.
In my opinion. Mike, you got quiet,
well,
or you froze out there. Mike, you froze out there, or I silenced you.
No.
Or I stunned you.
No, I'm just trying not to dominate because it seems like I argue with you guys nonstop.
You're fine.
So,
that's fine.
I'll respond to what...
This is a debate show.
I just want to say one thing. Tim Pool had a comment. I think he was talking to Bill Maher about this on Bill Maher's little podcast, not whatever. But he said that the difference between us and a liberal show is that we can sit here and argue strenuously about our opinions and then walk out with beers and smiles.
Club Random.
Exactly.
That's
yes, show. I know that. I mean, look, we're all friends, and we go to the bar all by the first round, right? I mean, that's cool. We're free to disagree. Anymore. But my biggest problem with Donald Trump, and it has been my problem with him since he came down the elevator in 2015, is that he is inarticulate. He says a lot. He can speak extemporaneously for hours without a script, but he is inarticulate. He contradicts himself. He is a carnival barker. He will say whatever he thinks he needs to say to get you to pay that $1 to enter his tent.
That's
and
true.
As soon as you're in his tent, he'll say something entirely different to get the next guy to pay the $1. And I'm sorry, but that is no way to run a railroad, and that is no way to run a country. He is his own worst enemy. His mouth is his own worst enemy.
I agree. But his actions, and that's one thing I tell a lot of people. I mean, I don't like the behavior. I don't like all the antics of Donald Trump. However, his policies, I'm in love with. I think that his policies are strike pitch perfect for what this country needs. We need smaller government. We need responsible government. We need people. We need government to get out of our ways, to get out of our lives. We need more freedom. We need more, I mean, the whole concept here of all these corporations, and people keep saying that Trump is controlling corporations. No, what he's doing is he's stopping corporations from controlling us. Okay, I mean that's the whole thing. Is that he's kind of like regulating by deregulating by regulating. But what he's basically doing is getting everybody back on the playing field of putting the consumer and the Americans first, and not the corporate greed and not all the corporate hijinks and everything else. And that's the direction he's going. He's doing it in a very inartful way, in a very chaotic, break every dish in the room way. But that's the way he is. That's the way he always has been. I mean, I think everybody elected a 78-year-old who they already knew his record. That's why they elected him. And we didn't elect a fixer. We elected a breaker who's going to break it in a way that can be fixed. Not like Obama, who broke with Obamacare and healthcare, a system that is not fixable. He destroyed the healthcare system. Or Biden, who broke the border in such a manner that we had to literally close it in such a draconian manner of how we're doing it now to keep America safe. We never should have had to have ICE agents all over this country. We shouldn't have to be putting National Guard all all over the country. We should have states who actually give a damn about their own people and who give a damn about their own people's safety to do that first, but we don't. So that's where Trump is sticking the federal government in an authoritarian manner to keep everybody safe. It's not authoritarian. It's doing the job that the states aren't doing. I mean, if states want to have states' rights, they should do it.
All the stuff they're calling authoritarianism are actually just examples of them exercising his constitutional authority.
Yeah, they're being lazy. If they want to talk about states' rights, they should use their states' rights and do it. I mean, states' rights doesn't mean you just ignore your citizens. States' rights does not mean you just let illegals come in. States' rights does not mean you just let all these criminals vote and illegal people vote and let the citizens of your state be ran over and be run roughshod and basically have all their infrastructure deteriorated because you don't have any stomach or any intestinal fortitude to stand up to them. No, states' rights means that you actually put the citizens of your state first.
And when it's
America first
policy,
and states first, but they don't.
And when it comes to policy, Greg, I give the president B+, maybe an A-. I don't know. I give him good grades on policy. But in a representative democracy, in a republic like we have, the leader must articulate to the people why we're doing things, because you have to have the support of the people. Now, look, he's in there for 4 years no matter what, okay?
Well, maybe
but the midterms are coming up, and if he does not articulate a coherent message that the American people will get behind, the people in Congress, both houses, that could support his policy implementations are going to be replaced by his enemies. So why doesn't he come out and explain to the people, American people, why he's doing something and try to garner some support?
Well, it doesn't matter what he says at this point. I actually doesn't think it matters what he says. They're going to attack. If he says that he thinks they're all beautiful, wonderful people and gives them all $1 million, they'll want to know why they didn't get 2 million. I mean, they're going to say, I mean, it doesn't, I'm at the point here to where Trump coming out and speaking is irrelevant to anything being sold or articulated, because he could give the best speech of his life tomorrow and people are going to tear it apart. I mean, the bias is so big, the hate is so huge, and the Trump derangement syndrome is on such a high level. Nobody's looking at anything at all logically, objectively, or anything. And I agree with you. I wish he would come out and articulate. But on the flip side of that, I do wish people would listen to what he says. You know, communication, as you well know, is a two-way street. We all say one thing, but people have to be able to digest exactly what we say in a direct manner that we're saying it. And the filter that's being given out there, because nobody's going to sit down and watch a live speech anymore. They're going to watch what the media clips apart and snips apart and puts out. And unfortunately, we don't have an objective media to articulate or to, basically facilitate a clear articulation of what he's saying. We have a media that is going to distort, waver, slant, or skew what he is saying, and basically take, and with this wonderful AI stuff that we have nowadays, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's going to fit the agenda of the advertisers of that station. And I wish it wasn't like that. And that's not a cop-out for him not to come out and do a speech. But it's a reality here that at this point of the game, it doesn't really matter to me what he says, because they're going to, the agenda is the agenda of the media. What matters to me is what happens. The whole thing, the actions need to be America first, people first, and putting communities first. That needs to be the actions, and that needs to be done. And anything short of that is not patriotic. Anything short of that is not, putting any of our common brethren first. And yes, I'm talking about all the citizens who are coming over here legally. And people here who are illegal, they know they're here illegally. They need to go back and do it right. And there's plenty of nonprofits and charities that will pay for it if they don't have anything to hide. Now, if they got something to hide, that's a different story, and gotta be with them and have fun with ICE. But, if you're here right and doing everything right, your shall be good.
Well, we have an entire political party who knows they need to import voters. And so that's what they're doing.
Exactly.
And if it needs
to
be illegally imported,
identity theft.
so be it.
ID theft 101.
Well, there's one party that wants to have open and honest discussions and bring facts and stuff, and there's another one that wants people to shut up and follow and just believe what I'm saying and that my feelings are the only thing that are important.
You mean like brown shirts?
Well, I'm not the one that said that, but
no, it's true. If you look at the left is real big on calling Republicans the fascists, but if you actually look at what fascists are, It's the Democrats who are
Exactly.
operating as fascists.
But why let definitions
The
mean
Democrats
anything?
have this no kings day, right? Oh, we're a democracy, no kings. And yet, which party was it who didn't have a primary for their nominee? It wasn't the Republican Party.
Which
Donald
party?
Trump won the nominee fair and square, but I don't nomination fair and square. But I don't remember Kamala Harris ever winning any primaries. Do you?
No,
And she
never,
was just
not one.
anointed
Exactly.
She didn't win any
by the
primaries in the
Politburo.
first election.
And which party is it that requires a ID in order to get a vaccine for COVID? But you don't have to have an ID to vote.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Well, and you
false
also need an
corollary of
ID to enter.
everything.
That's the other funny thing in this, the hypocrisy. You need an ID, obviously, to enter all these Democrat national conventions. And even these congressmen, they go home to their districts and they have these town hall meetings, and they require you to show an ID to get into the town hall meeting. To have a conversation with your congressman, they require an ID. But to vote for your congressman, no need for that. That's racist.
That's the definition of a king.
That's funny. I have a couple of guys that work for me that are naturalized citizens. I was there. I watched them be naturalized. I would love to take them to a Democrat thing like that and ask for entry without ID.
Yeah. I've seen a handful
awesome.
of videos of people doing just that, and it is pretty funny.
It is. So I think we got a poll today in California. We heard that Republicans are actually Republicans are getting strength over there in California, which, I think Mike and I talked last week about, the curious redistricting of different states and how, a lot of states who are really by population not that big are very different in spread electorally. And Florida's one, Georgia's one. I mean, a lot of states are like that because whenever you draw the districts, you draw the district, the winning party does. However, that being said, Democrat Party in California might be doing it to such a huge extreme because I think there are a lot more Republicans that are coming out who already have come out in California than statistically than the electoral map of anything currently reflects. And now the map that Governor Newsom wants to take it 30 steps further. It's just sick. And then you have a governor's race where Republicans are actually doing good in the polling comparatively to where they look like on the electoral map. I think the reality here is that everybody's tired of the wokeness. I mean, even in the Democrat primaries, you're seeing the woke guys lose, and you're seeing common sense Democrats coming back. I've had a lot of people ask me about Fetterman in Pennsylvania. I mean, granted, he's a liberal Democrat, but he at least makes some sort of sense for a Democrat. And how come the Democrat Party in California is nothing like that? And the fact that they're not, and I think it'd be awesome if a Republican would win over there.
Well, I hear what you're saying, but I think you're missing an important element of why what's happening in California is happening.
Oh no,
I don't think the Democrat voters in California are becoming any less woke. The reason that there's a chance the Republicans are going to prevail in the governor's race in California is because California has the jungle primary. And so the top two vote getters.
Yeah, you can't say jungle primary.
Competing against each other in the end. And what you normally have is two Democrats, right? But in this primary, there's so many Democrats running that it's diluting the Democrat vote that it's quite possible. I'm not going to use the word likely, but it's possible that the two top vote getters will be both Republicans. And you'll have a Republican versus a Republican in the general election in California for governor. But that's not because more Californians support the Republicans. It's because the Californians would be diluting their vote against so many Democrats that they don't end up in the top two, or no one ends up in the top two.
I'm going to take the water off my blanket here real quick. And so maybe, possibly, hopefully there's going to be a shift in California's thinking with the fires and all the, basically right now, I think that has a lot to do with a lot of the populists in California is the lack of the government response or the inadequate government response, or rather the government extortion of the citizens that lost their property and lost their lives and everything throughout the fires of California last year, which were only a year ago. People don't realize that was just right around a year ago when all those fires happened, and people are not rebuilding. People are not having the funds that they had. And chances of that happening again this year are very good. I mean, they have fires every year in California. So I mean, you're right. Maybe they're not becoming anti-woke, but maybe they are waking their heads up. And the Democrats, if they want to screw up their electoral process by watering down their votes so much that they eat their own, then that's just Democrats' hubris on crack, and they can have fun with that. And the Republicans are going to be smart enough not to do the same thing. And that's just the way politics works. It's a gamemanship thing. And if the Republicans are out gaming the Democrats in California, then that's great.
Well, the Democrats, California, first off, you really don't know how many Democrats are like committed Democrats, because in areas that have strong one party dominance, there's a lot of people that align themselves with the party simply so they can't have a voice at all.
Exactly. So
but one of the things I think is hilarious is the guy that is currently leading the polls, and he did pretty good in the last election cycle, Steve Hilton, who's not even from America. He's like a British national that became naturalized. It would be just like California to elect him simply because, well, he doesn't seem like a traditional American.
Like the Austrian guy, who's a bodybuilder and an actor.
The Austrian guy. Yeah.
Yeah, another European who became a governor.
He's not a real Republican. He's just saying that.
Or the naturalized American in New York City.
Exactly. That's my whole point, is that, it's and Steve Hilton is a good candidate. I mean, he's an interesting person. He's a talk show guy, media personality from Fox, I think, Business or Fox News or something. So
Sky News.
Sky News, one of the Fox affiliates. And so he has media personality.
I don't think that's how that works, but okay.
Anyway, but he has a charismatic opinion, and he's a charismatic guy. And so, I mean, his articulation of the issues and I think his love for California is genuine. So I think he'd be actually a pretty good governor. I have no idea how he is at policy or directing policy or running a country or running a state, because, I mean, California is larger than most countries. And so it'll be interesting to see how he could adapt to that. But it's going to be an interesting campaign over there.
Hey, maybe we get Steve Garvey in too. Oh yeah, he did okay in that Senate race till the end.
Yeah.
Of course, that's the most important part.
Yeah, the finishing, the crossing the finish line is the big deal here.
But I'll tell you the thing that's going to really hold this whole thing up and tell the tale. I don't think it's the fact that there were fires there. I think it's the fact that primary is probably in. Let's see, it's March now, so they'll have to do it by August. So March, April, May, June, July, August. So they've got 6 months. They've got 6 months to rebuild a ton of homes that were destroyed, in order to not say that that fire was almost 2 years ago. We still haven't rebuilt a single home. They don't even have time to get them under construction under their current format.
Exactly. I mean, right now the permitting process is 2 or 3 years, and it's extremely expensive. Just to get the permitting alone is more than the value of the damn property.
Dear California viewers, if you would like someone to help you write a bunch of campaign ads, here's how mine are going to go. It's going to be basically, what are we waiting for? And a picture of the Pacific coast still in cinders, and just have a date on it that says, we'll start with today's date. Or even have a camera, like a live video feed of construction not happening.
For more information about that, you can go to PowFoxProductions.com and check us out. All three of us are scriptwriters there, so, I mean, hey.
And those ads write themselves, though.
They do write themselves. I mean, and right now we got the Florida elections coming up. We got the primaries here in August here in Florida, which is the other really big state primary that's coming up, and nationwide, because I guess Texas already had their primary, so the only two really huge states left are Florida and California. And so if they both go red, that'll be pretty cool. Florida will stay red, of course. I don't think any chance of a Democrat winning statewide for governor here is possible.
And by the way, on the website that has my live feed, I'd have a loop of all of the LA people and all the people that are making excuses for why that fire happened. Just have them running on a loop next to a live feed of construction not happening.
Yes.
Here's why it's not my fault.
Exactly. But who do you think the front runner is for the Republican primary here in Florida?
For governor? It's definitely Reynolds.
You still think Donald still?
Oh, well,
I haven't heard anything about him in 2 or 3 weeks, really.
Well, it takes longer than that to fall completely out of favor.
I mean, I think James Fishback is doing pretty good. We haven't done any statewide polling here yet. We're going to probably start doing that in April. But we got James Fishback, and we got Randy, Bobby Jones, and we got Paul Renner. And we have, I think, 40 people running for governor altogether.
Of course we do.
The Lieutenant Governor, Jay Collins, he's running. And it's interesting because Byron Donalds got the Trump endorsement immediately.
Which is going to matter a lot.
It is, but he also has a lot of baggage that he's going to have to explain to his opponents are going to be pointing out. And so it's going to be, the biggest issue is how is he going to handle all the attacks on him because he is a front runner, and how he's going to rise above it or not rise above it. And also it's going to really depend on how much traction or truth is in those attacks, because having all of us been involved in campaigns and political ads and writing political ads, we've all told the truth and we've all been part of that. But most of our other compadres out there, a little sketchy on that one. Let's just say the truth would be like 20%. Let's just make it a really good story.
Well, they operate.
I'm not saying that.
No. They operate under this theory that once you say something that it'll never be not believed once it's believed one time, and there's an element of truth to that because it'll always stay in people's minds, but
Right.
it's not impossible to overcome either.
Exactly. Lies are easy to overcome. Truth is not.
Greg and I have personally shifted races 40 points in 6 weeks.
Yeah. It really just has to do with, having the right messaging to tell the truth and basically being factual on everything. And once these people start playing these wonderful card games, psychological card games that they're doing on these political commercials and these memes and all this stupid crap that they're putting out there that has nothing to do with benefiting anybody's lives, it's just ridiculous. That's just my little soapbox. Guys, you got anything else today to talk about?
Let's just
I know we've been
hope
pretty
that
rough
this
and
war
ready.
gets ended properly.
Well, I think you're about to go to Alaska, aren't you?
Yes, but the war will affect Alaska as well.
No, there's a certain area that's kind of blurred out on a lot of maps and stuff like that. And there's a little guardhouse at the top of it that has an elevator that goes straight down. And there's this giant black pyramid down there that has the answers to everything. So go check that out while you're up there.
No, there isn't. That's not true.
What are you talking about?
There's no pyramid. There's no pyramid in Alaska.
I think I actually have read about that. Yeah, I think I've read about it, and I got halfway through the article and clicked on something reasonable.
Well, you'll be there. You can do a first-person checkout on it.
There you go. All right.
I was going to say, but whenever you do go to Alaska, Mike, we're going to miss you for sure and everything. But I think we're going to have a few more shows here with you on here, bantering with us before you do leave the country or the mainland.
Mainland. Yeah, Alaska is still USA.
You can see Russia from that house, right?
That's right. You can see Russia from right there.
Or probably Guam.
Yeah, you do know Sarah Palin never said that, right? That was Tina Fey that said that in a Saturday Night Live skit.
Yeah, I know that.
I do know that she never said it, but the thing is, even if she had said it, it'd be a figurative statement to begin with. It's like I can smell corruption from across the room. Okay, well, what does it smell like?
It's kind of like the
I have a friend of mine.
I can see
Cuba from you guys probably actually know who he is. I don't want to give his name, but he's a ultra lefty, but he's very well informed. Okay, we disagree on nearly everything, but I at least respect him because he's very well informed. And we were talking at lunch some time ago, and this was some time ago, many years. And he mentioned that Sarah Palin was an idiot, and she'd said, "Oh yeah, because I can see Russia from my house." And I said to him, I said, "Bill," I'm only giving you his first name. I said, "Bill, you do know that Sarah Palin didn't say that, right?" "Yes, she did. Yes, she did. Yes." "No, she didn't. It was Tina Fey that said that in a Saturday Night Live sketch pretending to be Sarah Palin." No. So anyway, I said, "I'll bet you lunch. If I'm right, you buy me lunch. If you're right, I buy your lunch." Agreed? And he agreed. And I had him look it up, and he was shocked. And this is a guy who pays attention. So that's the thing. You talk about, the truth versus the lie.
Right.
It wasn't even a lie. It was supposed to be a comedy. But the majority of the country thought Sarah Palin actually said that. And she was ridiculed and skewered for it. And the ridicule stuck. And it made her out to be an, airheaded bimbo, even though she never said it.
And that comes full circle to how we started this whole conversation on the podcast. That's the reason why I don't care about what Trump says to the media or justifying this war, because they're going to screw up anything he says. It's going to stick with him. And basically what all of us think is a good war going to be thrown out the window.
Well, people lie about me all the time. But what do I do when they lie about me? I counter with the truth. It doesn't mean everyone's going to believe that truth, but at least I'm countering, because a lie unanswered becomes believed as the truth.
But that's
always have to counter the lies no matter what. And getting back to Donald Trump, and I will kind of end with this. His problem is not just that he lies, it's that he vacillates all over the board. He needs to pick a coherent and consistent message and stick to it and get the people in administration to do the same.
He's 80 years old.
He's done this all his life. This is not dementia.
No, and to Greg's point, I think that's more aspirational than reality, because if he hasn't changed by now, he ain't got it.
March 19th of 2026, he's not going to change.
No.
And he's also not us, and we're not him. And so, that being said, I agree with you, Mike. I'm the same way. Scott's the same way. All of us are the same way, but we also didn't, that's not how we make a deal. That's how he makes a deal. And so he's doing, that's what we elected. We elected him to do what he's doing.
Indeed.
Get better and different.
All right. Well, that's an hour and 15 minutes. Boy, this may be a record for us.
I think it might be. And you guys go ahead and find us on every platform. We appreciate all the views. We appreciate all the wonderful comments that you guys are making. You actually are being nice. That's cool. And find us on the platform, and we'll see y'all next week.